Awesome. All right, welcome everyone. We'll get started here shortly. I'm sure people will be cruising in. Feel free to all, request to speak, or I think everyone has their, you can just instantly bring yourself up. I think we have some cool stuff to review. I think I can share it out if everyone already has access to it, but there's about, I think we have 19 or 20 applicants that were submitted, which is a really good number. And I think uh, the overall number that has been submitted so far is 66,860 as a overall submitted applicants. Um, and I'm sure Hero will get some more details as far as what we're looking at there, just from some shared statistics we can kind of share out. I was hoping we could give the opportunity for anyone that submitted an application to share any more insight and more details if they'd like. At the same time, we could also just, review some of these details, and then obviously review some of the things that we previously discussed that was related to, mentorship and education, and see where if that still in the beginning when we started, I don't remember now, 8 weeks ago or 6 weeks ago. In the initial talks, we had a lot about mentorship and having the developer track be kind of have a priority on that matter. So we just want to still gauge that and make sure that we are following that through, along with any other projects that were solo submitted or group submitted that are not following the mentor track. So I think that would be a good time to review and see if anyone's here that has submitted, kind of get some more insight, and go from there. Hero, did you have anything, or Dave? I'm happy to see what you guys are thinking.
Yeah, I came honestly because I know that you guys encouraged it. I'm obviously I want to be as open as possible to kind of help, like maybe help describe or answer some questions, maybe give some updates because I think I told you guys like I already started building this thing, um, or paying a dev team to build this thing. So yeah, like whenever you guys want, I just need like a couple minutes, just to kind of like prepare. If you guys want like a 2 minute spiel on exactly what it is that I'm doing, I'm happy to provide that. But yeah, feel free, like Hero, obviously, like jump in if you have any other stuff to add in the interim. But yeah, I'm here for whatever you guys need.
Awesome. Yeah, Dave. So when you're ready, let us know, and then we'll jump in. And I know before you had some concerns as far as just certain information you felt sharing. So just share what you feel comfortable with, and give the highlights, and I think that's helpful for everyone to just kind of hear. Hero, did you have anything for us in relations to some criteria, things we should start thinking about as we're now in that review process of the applicants, and if you had any, bigger scale numbers like the total submitted and all that good stuff, if there's anything to share at this time?
Yeah. Um, yeah. Welcome everybody. Yeah, we had about over 90 applications. I think about 95 for 300 grand request. So we only have 50, so we're gonna probably have to cut quite a few. But yeah, I think that's what we're here to do, right? Just like find almost like what we can spend on within the limit, and just make the best of the money. And yeah, I think it's all good. I think we're here. I think I put a criteria up there, which is also in the public doc, just to remind everybody. Some of the criteria in general, is like impact, feasibility, team experience, innovation, quality, self sustainability. So some of these stuff should apply to all. If it doesn't, then ignore that. But essentially, what we want to do is get to like a rough consensus, and everybody who are in the weeds can, or who are stewards, put what they think on a project between 1 to 10. And I think when we average it out, we can start seeing like which one are sort of the more interested ones, and we can take the conversation from there. So I was hoping like we could just like go through one by one, or whoever is here, and it's easier. It's just so much easier when you hear the applicant as well. So we can probably like prioritize like rating one of the ones who are here. But yeah, that's all from me. Maybe if you want to make me the co-host, I'm happy to help.
Hero, quick question for you. So can you just maybe run us through like the voting process again? Because I was a little bit confused. I think like I saw Good Kitty put up everything that was so dope of her, like just to like lay out every single project that applied like on her timeline, which just makes life so much
Yeah,
easier. Yeah,
yeah. We Good Kitty is doing her own way because just whatever suits her track. In general, the default way is just people rated on the spreadsheet, the stewards. Obviously, like if you've been involved, I think it's easier. But there isn't like say like by doing the likes method like what Good Kitties does. So this is just going through the application one by one, and then we rate them and then give feedback. So this is the other process that. But if we find Good Kitties method is better, we can always improve up on that for the next round. So
so
that's
there's
the
no like,
idea.
so there's no like people voting essentially. There's no poll or anything that you put up or like to see like what people like what the actual community like would want.
I think it's a evolution. I think we will evolve to get there. But before that happens, we're gonna have some more trusted people within the community who can take who can help us review before we get to the more decentralized or further decentralized version of reviewing. So that's
Yeah.
correct.
Got you, got you, got you. I guess, do we lose anything? Like, I mean, obviously, if the stewards have the ultimate decision, but do we lose anything by doing that, like this round, or just out of curiosity, like, would it be cumbersome, or just, you know what I mean?
What do you
Like,
mean
just
you
to maybe get a
lose?
sense.
What do you mean you lose?
Like, I guess do we like any reason why we wouldn't just take like a poll, like just to gauge some sentiment, like from the community, like this time around, like doesn't have to be like this crazy like implemented change.
I think
Just
poll is good, right? But isn't you because it can be easily gamed on Twitter. So I think it can only serve as a reference point.
got it. Okay, got you.
And I have seen people gaming that in the past. No, just for NFT project, not even for DeGrants, and just like go rated basically. So it's only reliable to a certain point, but shouldn't be the decision maker. If you see what I mean, I think it's
Yeah.
just like reference point.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, 100% agree with you. 100%.
Yeah,
Dave,
the
do you
other
want to make
yeah,
me a co-host? I'll help you bring people up.
yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. Give me 1 second. Hero, let me get you there. I think they should all be able to come up, but I'll get you on there 1 second. Here we go. All right. That should send to you. Perfect. Um, the things I also want to specify here, and just to recap what Hero is saying, is that, in the criteria, right, we have like as far as what the impact will be, the feasibility, the team experience, innovation, the quality, and then that's self-sustaining. I think the more that each applicant can communicate their project as a whole for the recording, um, and also for any of the stewards to interact and really hear the applicant's story behind it, it's extremely helpful, I think, because at the end of the day, we are looking at a document that has quite a few things there, and there are questions. So I think, again, the more that one conveys, I think it's easier to digest it and understand it and see how the engagement is. So I would encourage anyone that has submitted. I mean, you've already submitted. The next step is just to convey what you're trying to achieve, and I think that helps for all the stewards. And if the stewards are not here today, then we're going to send the recording to them, and we have plans, or at least I have plans to reach out to all of them, and we're going to do a public forum so that all the stewards are here and we can kind of get on the same page regarding the criteria and go down the list. But I think that's just something that would be beneficial. So if you have submitted, I would obviously encourage anyone today to take that time just to kind of recap, give the highlights, team experience, and go over some of these basic criteria elements. So okay, so if so, we have a few people. So I see Sam's here, Gary, we have Gecko, Block. I mean, there's a few people that have submitted in here. I think Dan. Yeah, so there's a few here that have submitted. So if anyone has a moment to share kind of what they submitted and give us some high level overviews, I think that's great, and we can kind of go from there, and we can start our semi start our review process and just get some conversation started.
I can go just give me. I just literally need like 2, 3 more minutes, Dave.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Um, so again, I'm going to recap. So we have, I think, about 19 or 20 in the developer track. Congratulations to all the other tracks. They did equally as well. I think the from a overall, I think the NFT might have taken the win for the most submitted. And I think that's a great there. And so all of them have a good amount submitted, and like Hero said, 90 plus. Um, and so our focus is now just to look at the developer track. If you did submit in multiple tracks and you are just kind of coming up and conveying that, please let the stewards know and let that you are submitting in multiple tracks so that we see that there's a connection between the two tracks. We want to highlight that to make sure that that the connection does show. And the hope there is that if there is a highlight there, then obviously the dev stewards would connect with the community or whatever other track there is, just to make sure that we have consistency and seeing how those tracks interconnect and see how the budgeting and all that stuff impacts each project. And so I think that's just good to highlight. You can just say, this track or that track or multiple tracks. Um, and I think that's always just nice to give it makes it easier for the stewards to connect some dots there. So yeah, if we have any additional, if not, I can kind of continue to review some of these things that I'm seeing. But if we had somebody, if anyone wants to go off, anyone submit under, and here's some categories that we had. We had infrastructure, we had development tooling, education, we have some AI in here, we have mentorship program. We did have an emphasis on the mentorship program. So if anyone's in the room that did a mentorship, if you're available, feel free to kind of give us a rundown. And so we did have some community building. We had community building, infrastructure, growth and community. So we have a good amount of developer focused, but at the same time, really seeing a good broad of education and mentoring in this round. So that looks fantastic. Yep. If anyone's free, feel free to jump in here. If not, we can continue.
Hey, how are you guys? I'm happy to jump in.
Sounds great. Go for it.
All right. So yeah, no, I appreciate the support in terms of hearing me out and potentially giving me the opportunity here. My thinking was that I was sort of very open about where I am and um, where I'm sort of helping folks in the community. So I am also part of another grant that is led by Sandy Hoover on the NFT track. So you could take a look at that and kind of see how that plays into everything. But essentially, the goal for me was to come in as a mentor. I have developed smart contracts for a while. I am kind of still learning, but I feel like I've got enough under my belt where I can at least point you in the right direction, get you going on the first smart contract. And so, I kind of looked at it from a perspective, I think I called it like zero to clarity, because the idea is to come in and get folks from sort of from the bench to getting their first contract out. I feel like a lot of people are very scared, and like once they dip their toe in the water, and so to be able to have somebody to go to where they can get a stab at what a contract might look like, I think would be very powerful for them. And then obviously, figure it out from there or point them to other people who can kind of assist them further. But that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. So I think if I have you here correctly, so you're doing Zero to Clarity is the project name. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that you're looking to look like it's a community driven request for any mentees that might be um, partaking in this mentorship. Is that also correct?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like what goes on when we have these, whether it's DeGrants or other spaces. A lot of people come up, they have questions, they're not sure where to start. And I feel like those people could have support from the Clarity side. I could be that individual that can kind of go in and at least give them that entry point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so any thoughts yet or background on how you might structure that program or what we could just go over some of that criteria, but how might you structure that program and what the impact you feel like could be? Just I know it's early on, but any thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, from structuring it, I think you all talked about uh, being able to. I think the community sort of can come up with someone that might need support, but also I see it as within the D grants program. There's a lot of people building, and so there could be whether it's spaces or office hours some availability where they can come and we can review them. And then the other thing is I can also provide some kind of content. So I just have to plan that out, but that's kind of the early thinking because I kind of like in some way of what Hero was saying. I kind of want to see what the interest is and like what part of the support would be the most impactful. And so from that end, it's almost like starting a conversation with the community and seeing how they would want to be supported, and also from the folks here at DeGrants, I guess.
Awesome, very cool.
Yeah,
So like, oh, go ahead.
one thought, Sam is looking for mentors, so maybe that's like an area. We might have, different grantees who might need support. So I can think of like one area, and also Sam is doing his educational like certification stuff for his stuff. So maybe there's a connection there. Sam, do you have any thoughts? Anything Gary can help you bridge?
Yeah, I just wanted Gary to finish his presentation. So when I do one for Stacks Lab, then I'll stress more on the mentorship part of it.
So do you have some structure you can already provide to Gary that you already need? You just looking for a mentor?
It's more in the terms of a mentor-mentee association or relationship, because we're looking towards a partnership with the foundation through Adam for the beginners activation later on. We're still working out the details. So in terms of mentorship, it will be somebody that's free, because that's one of the things that we need in the community. You need to be free. We need your time, and you need to be very experienced in the terms of clarity and the whole concept of uh, um, transitioning from a beginner to a founder. And so that's basically the kind of mentors we're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it would probably make sense in that way where I could give my time, and then I have share my experience, and I built companies and kind of doing that now. So see if that's helpful.
Cool.
Yeah, so I think in some way it's really kind of an open. I'd have to sit down and maybe speak with some of the folks here to come up with a plan. But it's the only thing is, I kind of talk through uh, sustainability plan in the sense that I am part of this community and I support many entrepreneurs, and I'm going to do that regardless whether I sort of get this grant or not. And so this is in some ways just helping kind of formulate maybe a position for me here, and so that would be really cool. And then in terms of smart contracts, I mean, with Clarity, everything is open source, but also we can record sessions and maybe repurpose them if they're useful as videos, because there's uh, only so many variations of smart contracts you could really have. You start to notice that a lot of them are very similar, but kind of seeing those different specific variations could be interesting. And then in terms of why am I the right person? Yeah, so I've been a long time member of this community. I think since 2018, roughly, and was a part of Haylayer. And there'll be some other kind of additional information coming about Haylayer specifically, and yeah, and I'm supporting, as you may know, other folks in the community with the NFT track. I had developed an NFT music mixer that mixes tracks together and creates NFT licensing. So that's on the NFT track, and that was Sandy Hoover's idea. I was just more on the technical side, and then I'm also doing some work for Zero Authority here and there. So that's kind of my experience. In terms of I think I might have lost track here, but the challenges and everything else is, really more on time availability. Just need to make sure that whatever the scope is and how we can define it could be, can make sense for me. And then the other thing is, obviously there could be some sort of smart contract concept that may be beyond my understanding, or I would just have to sort of take some time and learn. But that, those are really the challenges that I see. And then what else? Right, and then I think the request for 2,500. I think that's it.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I think it definitely shapes it a bit more for everyone, and so we have some we have that we can share in the recording, and um, it does seem like you have a nice structure there where you can do a variety of things, right? Like it's the intro, you can go to a certain point, record. All those recordings could be extremely valuable in the sense of repurposing and reusing. Um, and if all that source code that as either did you have a thought process on how many mentorees that you were looking? Is it a one-on-one or a one to few, or what might be your thought process there?
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's sort of a way to facilitate like a chat or some kind of environment where I can kind of assess a few, because I think, yeah, it just depends on the time needed, and maybe I'd need, you know, one to kind of get a sense of it, and then we can kind of go from there and open it up more. But I think also just depends on the needs of. There might be some things I can answer quickly, and then some things that require more time. So I think that's the main thing.
Yeah, no, nice, nice. And there might be a nice, and I'll let maybe Sam can jump in next, but there might be a nice connection there, somewhat of either providing you some also, if we can in the resourcing, finding you like a TA that could also filter some questions that give you a little bit support as well. And I think that could be a nice pairing where there's a connection of you getting maybe one or two TAs that might assist you, and so that you can kind of high level, low level, play out, but just giving some ideas there as well.
Yeah, I agree, and I think everyone has different strengths, and I like to generally, I'm good at sort of thinking through like a programmer, and then I put the pieces together. Some people may be sort of more micro. So yeah, there's a couple different ways of going about things with code and clarity, so you can always do things multiple ways, and that could be helpful having somebody like that.
Awesome. Great. Thank you for coming up and sharing your application. It looks really interesting, and we're super excited for you submitting.
Thank you,
Is there
appreciate it.
any questions that we might have uh here for him? If not, then we're gonna continue on. We have, I think Sam and Dave might be Sam, Dave, Dan, and Gecko might be uh available.
Yeah, I can jump in now. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Sam. I'm a community manager or support and Stacks head of communications and developers program for Stacks Australia, lead for Stacks Nigeria, and a couple of things in Stacks community. What I'm presenting today is a global community for developers and aspiring founders, and it's called Stacks Lab. And our main focus or what we're trying to build is the foundational class or the foundational community where newbies can come into the Stacks ecosystem, learn the concept of clarity, and go forward into building different projects or building or becoming founders themselves. So what we're aiming to do is we're aiming to bridge the crucial gap of Stacks workforce by addressing the need of more skilled professional in clarity and project executors. And we're striving to simplify the whole concept of the learning process, because I found out a couple of months ago that many of the people that we are having in the community that claim that they wanted to learn clarity either started and didn't finish, or they left halfway because of the complexity of the documentation, or they didn't have somebody that would walk them through in terms of inspiration or mentorship, like I was talking about earlier. So what we are planning to do is, if we can break down the learning process while adding the community experience of the whole learning process and the journey itself, all the way to mentorship and your first project as a person in the community, it's going to be more rewarding, not to just the Stacks community, but to Stacks Lab itself and yourself included. So our target audience are more like aspiring blockchain developers, experienced Web2 developers transitioning into Web3, university students. We already have a collaboration with Stacks Australia in terms of university mentorship or learning or education. We're planning to expand that later on. And lastly, we're also looking for excited stacks enthusiasts coming into the ecosystem via through NFTs and the rest of them that want to also build their own project, NFT project or artists alike. So one of the things that we are doing currently, I'm in partnership with a few people. But before I go into the partnership, I would like to say our current progress. We currently have a console community of over 200 members. I also have a community of 140 or 160 counting in Stacks Nigeria, and 60 out of those 140 or 160 are interested in going into the Clarity development program or learning path. So in addition to that 200, I would say we have over 260 or less. If I want to say, okay, let's just round it up to possibilities. We might be looking at 100 to 160 of our first learners when the whole Stacks Lab kicks off. So, and we've been able to pull in some partnership in terms of strategic partnership. We have one with Zero Authority. It's not yet been announced, but we are looking for more in terms of other partnership. But currently, I have one with Zero Authority. I have one with the chapters, Stacks chapters. I have a couple of them with Adam from the foundation that we're going to be talking about later on when we're finalized that. So the strategy we are looking for is we want to build a platform for learning. I know there are lots of platforms there. We have the likes of the Clarity Land platform. We have the Learn Web3, but many of these platforms are not uh, guided. When I say guided, they are not simplified enough for no background in programming or somebody that has no inclination or inclination to programming. So we want to do our best to bring down those barriers that will help in learning clarity. So apart from the whole concept of you learning clarity, what other things do we want to achieve in Stacks Lab? We don't want you to just learn clarity, come into the community and just be not function as a Clarity developer. So we are looking towards other ventures where after learning Clarity, you go into the mentorship program. We're still looking to talk more about that. And the mentorship program will be somewhere you can have someone to look up to in terms of a mentee, an experienced developer, or somebody that already has a project. They've gone through the fire or the furnace to build a project where you get to learn how they converted their clarity into functional tools and built tools from it. So apart from that, we'll also be working hand in hand with a couple of our partners in terms of certifications and job placement. So because at one point when I was having a discussion with a member of the Stacks Australia team, we realized that many of the people that are coming into Web3 are either looking for job placement or some way that they can function in the ecosystem. So if we can give them that support by teaching them what they need to use, the tools necessary for those things that they need to learn, and also helping them out through the journey, the learning pathways, certifying them through vigorous learning process or examination process, and finally helping them to get or land their first gig. I feel like will increase the margin of productivity and retention in Stacks ecosystem for a while to come. One of the things that we are also trying to do is I had a meeting, I and Gordon had a meeting with Setzus, and we're planning to onboard or integrate the concept of 100 days of clarity. And the reason why we're doing that is we had a statistic, a survey some time ago, and I realized that many of the people that I know or I onboarded into Stacks ecosystem that transitioned from no programmer to a Clarity developer right now came in through the 100 days of clarity. So the success rate of 100 days of clarity is more like 90 to 99%. And I feel like it's something, if we can incorporate that into the learning system of Stacks Lab, we can also help to remove the barriers of people that are having issues with learning through reading or documentation, and also providing video content for people that don't go through the routes of learning by reading. So it's one of the things that we're trying to achieve as well. But simply put, The impact we're trying to create, in terms of impact of what we're trying to create, we want to increase the number of skill clarity devs. We want to be able to launch community projects or single-handedly by each and every graduate or everyone that goes through the Stacks program. We want to reduce the average time for developers to become proficient clarity developers. Want to create standardized certification programs that recognizes whoever goes through Stacks Lab, you earn a badge, you earn certification, and you're also vetted to go into any establishment or organization that requires a clarity dev, and we'll be able to back you up there. And also we want to establish global guilds around the globe, not just one region or just one community server on console. We want to make it like a global guild process where we have different communities from different parts of the world, like Stacks Lagos, Stacks Australia, name the country out there. So we're pushing for that. But the first and primary objective that we're trying to do, or our main focus currently, is the developers' education, the ecosystem growth, and community expansion that we're looking towards Stacks Lab to build. I think apart from that, it's just I think that's just a summary of what we're trying to achieve with Stacks Lab currently.
Yes, and that sounds great. Is any highlights in the categories of the self-sustaining long-term vision and also the challenges or risks? Do you have any thoughts there or share? I'm looking at the very detailed, but I'm looking at your application now. Just curious if you wanted to share any of the long-term visioning and the challenges that might be related to this project.
In terms of long-term vision for Stacks Lab, like I mentioned, we want to grow the Stacks workforce, and I think that's part of the, how will I put it?
Yeah, no, I bring it up. I bring it up because I really like how you're providing that premier
Yeah,
course and
I
the certification process, right?
yes,
You've really outlined multiple ways where um, the your stacks labs can be very self-sustaining because you've really outlined a good amount of things that could occur, right? From hosting hackathons to partnerships to training.
yes.
So very detailed. So I'd encourage all to look at that application to see that you clearly have thought out a number of ways to make it self-sustaining. So it looks really clean.
Yeah. So in that regards, I think one of the ways that we plan to make this a long-term development process or learning process is we want to offer free introductory courses. We want to partner with the likes of universities and accredited blockchain companies. We also want to provide mentorship, like I mentioned earlier. We'll still be going into the details of how we want to do the mentorship. Host regular hackathons, and this goes in the line of uh, the whole concept of the builders activation. We're going to be having like a session with Adam, probably on X Space, to explain more further how that is, but we're still in the works towards that. We want to be able to collaborate with other Stacks projects out there. And I think the major one that we are looking into is job placement, because the whole concept of you learning a developer's tool, or you learning Clarity, being able to build your first project. As we say, many people, it's not everybody that will turn out to be a founder, but if you eventually become a workforce in the Stacks ecosystem and help us move the motion for community builders like myself in terms of adoption and the rest of them, I feel like that will go a long way. And another thing that I didn't mention is we're trying to create like a train the trainer kind of activation where whoever comes out of Stacks Lab and is certified or vetted will be recycled into the community to help train more people in different regions or whatever way that they can, apart from just being in the workforce and the rest of them. So we're looking towards being able to developing comprehensive Clarity language curriculums, launch online learning platforms, like I mentioned in the application. We want to build our own online platform where it simplifies the learning process. You don't have to be constricted to just reading. You also have the option to go into the video learning and whichever one that you feel suitable for you. We want to organize virtual workshops and webinars. We want to establish a very elaborate mentorship program. And I think particularly what I am more excited about is 50% of what we're trying to achieve, or in terms of strategy and what we are actually working towards, is already in the works right now. I've made contacts with a few people and the developers track and the community itself. So I feel like there's still a lot of work to be done, but we are actually going towards that.
Oh, that sounds great.
So I'm open to any other questions that the community might have. I think you mentioned uh, challenges. Did I hear challenges then, David?
Yeah, I was just curious if you wanted to recap any of the potential challenges that you might see coming up for you.
Okay. I think in terms of challenges, we're looking at project challenges and the rest of them. I think some of them is more like being able to attract and retain the Clarity developers. I think it's been one of the major things that we've been facing. We have as part of the Clarity for many of the activities I had online with learning Clarity then. So I feel we are also trying to make that uniquely. We are looking for a way to help resolve that issue in terms of offering a unique value through personalized mentorship and job placement assistance. In terms of initial funding right now, we're focusing on the things that we can work towards in having in mind that we might not get the grants, but we still want to keep the project alive. So we're focusing on low cost things and high impact activities themselves. Keeping the curriculum update is also a challenge because many times I've noticed that the Clarity language itself is upgraded or updated. So we need a way to establish a partnership with Stacks Foundation or the core devs of Stacks to get real-time industry insight or information on when uh, the language changes or how we can functionally adapt to whatever that is. Because when we create a curriculum, it has to be dynamic, not just static, so that it can change according to the way the language itself is expanding or being adapted. I think
Sam, just
that's in terms of. Sir?
just quickly, David, do you think you have enough, or another stewards? Do you think you guys have enough information to be able to rate this already, or just a little
Yeah,
bit
no, no.
mindful of the time?
Yeah. Yep, no. I think we're good. Thank you,
Okay.
Sam. Thank you, Sam. If we have Dave, I think Dave was looking to uh, jump in here. There we go. Dave, you with us?
Yeah, sorry, I just got rugged when I couldn't hear anything Sam was saying towards the end. So Sam, I apologize. Yeah, I lost you, so I just wanted to drop down. I didn't want to interrupt. Oh, am I up?
Yeah, you're up.
Okay. My fault. My bad. My bad. Sorry, Sam. I did want to make one comment on what I could hear from what you said. I love the the job placement thing. I think is tremendous. I think it would benefit the entire, I think all of Stacks, right? If maybe too, I don't know if you want to maybe incorporate some sort of official ambassador Stacks program with that, because I mean some of the I see some of the moderators that are in some of the some of the meme token chats or whatever, and I think they can absolutely benefit from every single thing that you just said, and kind of like putting them through a program like that would be 100. That would be incredible, because I think that's our responsibility as a community also. And obviously people that are bringing them on, they're giving them this opportunity, they're paying them, but also I think we want to make sure that like they actually have that, like they have the tool set for it too. So I love what you're doing, man. I think it was awesome. Okay. Yeah.
Thanks, Dave. I think to address that, I already have something hooked up or in the building for Community Builders Initiative in terms of ambassadors and rest. But I just want to clear off Stacks Lab. Let's finalize Stacks Lab first before we start moving into other adventures.
Amazing, man. Good shit. That's awesome. Really, really awesome stuff, man. I don't think I've ever introduced myself to you, but it's good to meet you, Sam. It's nice to finally talk to you. Pleasure, man. Um,
Likewise, bro.
likewise, for real, for real. Okay, what do we got? Whew, this thing is being a little bit crazy for me. But David, what's up? Hero, what's good? Kitty, Trip, JP, Gary, Gecko, Dan, Raf, Ludo. Okay, so here's kind of like where I'm at with. So here's, I guess, the name of the project is called Nest AI, right? The website is nestai.ai. I got a placeholder of like a subscriber site that's up there right now. Obviously, we'll do some sort of like early access to it, but what exactly is this, right? So I submitted under the developer track, and I submitted under a few others as well, because I really do think that this hits on almost all of them. I think it was like 4 out of the 5 tracks that I actually applied to, right? Because it's not just one thing, right? The way I thought about this, right before I get into kind of like telling you guys exactly like what it is, the way I thought about this was, what are some of the tools that can obviously like, what are some tools that I think can immediately benefit the community? Like, where's the biggest problem? And I think what I applied for was under education, excuse me, education, or it was either education or AI. But education is obviously the biggest, in my opinion, is the biggest gap that we have right now, that I think will help make better marketplaces, and so on, as an educated community, and really understanding like this entire ecosystem, how it works, the blockchain, and so on. So I tried to figure out, that's step one. That's my biggest problem. Now, how do I make like cool shit too, right? So that people can kind of come and not just, be like, oh, this is just an education platform, right? Because the way I see it is, you have to educate people, but you also have to entertain them a little bit too, right? You got to keep them on the site. So it's a little bit of a combination of a lot of things. So, but at the core, right, the platform is really designed to really change and revolutionize like how people learn, right? So ultimately, and learn specifically about the Stacks ecosystem, blockchain tech, DeFi, I mean, you name it, right? So the biggest proponent of this is the AI enabled avatars that are ultimately guiding you through each of the modules via like almost like an interactive curriculum, I guess, if you will, right? So the main point of this was, ultimately, we wanted to really dumb this shit down to make all these super complex concepts just really easy to grasp. And we wanted to do it in a really friendly, easy way that was obviously going to be different, but based off, again, my experience, I feel like everybody learns so differently. But if you have an AI enabled avatar that is using and like natural language processing that can literally talk to you like a human being, I think it could be amazing. But yeah, Trip, I don't know if you have a question, if you want to go, like, if it's related to what I just said, or should I
Yeah,
finish?
no,
Yeah.
actually, it's right on par with what you just said, because I think one of the neat things that you could think about is it kind of seems like for your AI model to be doing a really good job, it would be like an AI version of Gary, essentially on the mentorship track, doing a really good job. And like maybe there's a way you guys can work together, or almost like you're training the AI based on like the IRL mentoring that's happening at the same time. Right. So I think it's super cool, because it is giving you that way to work independently if you don't happen to have a mentor, and you're essentially creating like a virtual Gary or a virtual mentor that can help out when there might not be a person available.
Dave, is this more geared towards like understanding what is DeFi, or is it more like geared towards teaching you smart contract coding?
No, it's not teaching you smart contract. I mean, it can. We can honestly, like, it's really whatever
Sorry.
you want. It's the curriculum. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
so I'm just trying to clarify what sort of target you are going down. Like, is it to understand what is stacks, or is it to understand what is DeFi, or
oh, so the
could you?
curriculum, so the curriculum that I created, like the 12 modules, is like the beginner course, right? Like,
Cool,
what
I
is a
see. I see.
blockchain? What's Bitcoin? What is stacks, right? Like, how do I create a wallet, right? I created like the newbie curriculum, right? I'm not a developer, so I'd want, like, I look at that as like the collaboration opportunity, right? Is like I want like the I want the devs to be able to like write those curriculums. I don't know shit from shit about that, and I don't want to take a stab at that, right? So yeah, does that answer, Hero
Uh,
and Trip? Just so you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I
yeah,
love your idea.
So I missed the mark on my question. I thought it was more kind of technical in nature. Um,
No,
but
I'll tell you why
the
though,
entry
Trip.
the initial stuff of getting into stacks is kind of almost more important, and definitely will cast a wider net. So
yeah. I think there are so many different like entry levels, right? And so I have seen people who just like come through like completely new. Sometimes what a lot of them that you meet at meetup actually like meet up people like sometimes are university students. I've seen talk to them firsthand, and they really like don't even know what is Bitcoin and how Bitcoin works. So and then when you come back to the Twitter sphere, like everybody's like crypto web3 kind of guys. So there are definitely different levels of entry points and knowledge in terms of their journey. And do we have, I guess is a question, like do we have those material for each of those levels? And maybe we should fill them as an ecosystem. But if we, yeah, so that's the thing. I think Sam might have a pretty good overview since he's also in this education sphere. But yeah, I think interesting idea.
Yeah, I mean, I would
What
love
I
like
like is scalability, Dave. Like if this is scalable, that's good because then I don't, it takes quite a lot of human to handle this. And if it's AI, I think it can probably, cover a lot of humans. So number of bodies you're able to cover for entry points, maybe to send to your grandma or something like that.
yeah. I mean, the way that I initially saw it was like I wanted this to be almost like a hub, right? Like a central place where people can, whether you're a new community member, an existing community member, an OG, and it doesn't matter what you do. Like the way I envisioned it was, I wanted to have this be a place where you'd come for something, right? But I also don't want it to just be a bunch of random stuff. It kind of has to make sense. So I think they all like the four different pieces really tie into each other. So number one is obviously like and if it's okay, can I pin something to the top, guys? Is that cool? I just put this in the comments so you guys just can get an idea as to like what I'm talking about. Um, this is like one of the avatars. It's gonna take a little bit of time, it's like to build this out because it is kind of like new-ish tech. But this is like some of the more expensive stuff, right? Because you pay for GPU power, and it's like crazy expensive. Some people charge you; it's like an arm and a leg. Obviously, the more time goes by, the cheaper it'll get. But just to give you an idea, check out the Nest. That's a quick little clip so that you can honestly see like how like intuitive it is, how simple it is, but how inviting it is, right? And I've done some testing on this stuff. Like some people really respond. Like I mean, I say most people respond really well to it because it's different. It's not you're the same old stuff. Now, the way that I tie that into kind of the other pieces is and the other piece being uh the Lunar Crush API, right? So I'm building like a almost like a social dashboard using the Lunar Crush API. I'm going through like all the different like endpoints. I mean, they have some crazy data, man. It is like you could sit there and build for days But I think it's a matter of like the way I'm thinking about it is what's going to bring people to the site, right? And essentially get them talking to one another, whether that's friendly competition via leaderboard and, maybe Stacks like the Stacks Foundation running different contests or different protocols that are sponsoring different contests. I think we could do so many different things. It's just a matter of what data points. Like, hey, I want to know if I'm a higher ranked content creator than Hero, right? Like that maybe is something that we can friendly compete about. You know what I mean? So creating a leaderboard around stuff like that. But there are like the insights that you actually gain and the benefit that I think to where the benefit comes in for Stacks is the more people you excuse me, the more people you have using this, right? That means the more mentions that you're getting across like the social media sphere, crypto, Twitter, it takes in TikTok, and it'll also show the areas of opportunity. So we know, and you can better plan for the future, right? So if we don't have a TikTok account and we see a lot of activities now moving from Twitter to TikTok, maybe we get a TikTok, maybe we open up an official TikTok account, right? So I think it's going to help give so many more, like so much insight, um, into where we're lacking, and to also highlight the people that are really outperforming.
Cool.
Here,
Dave, just I know the answer to these questions. I'm just asking to highlight to the others, just so we know how much is your budget, and in total across all tracks that you are sort of spreading to different tracks.
yeah. So the total is 6,500, and it's 1,500 from the dev track, and then I think 1,000 from each other track.
Each other track. Cool. And if would it be open source, or is it more like something
No,
that you?
I put in the application because I started funding this already.
Mhm.
So there's about 3 to 4 weeks of work already in this. So there's a few $1,000s in there already, probably a little more. I'm happy to open up the repo to the stewards, and so they can see exactly what it is that I have, and they can go over it. So yeah, you let me know. I mentioned that in the application.
Cool. Just does everybody have enough information or any questions? If not, we got quite a few others to get through. Um,
All right,
yeah,
okay, I'll be brief, I promise. So after the after the what's it called? After the Lunar Crush like social dashboard, we're creating DeFi calculators to make things really simple. So at the end of this week, Philip from Stacking DAO just informed me this morning that they're going to have some sort of an API endpoint so that we're going to be able to obviously get and gather all of that points data so that we can then build out all these different tools like using Stacking DAO data because they have a ton of it specifically for points. So people can really understand exactly what it is that they have, and see their positions in real time or their points in real time and so on. And then after that, you know what? I guess I'll stop there because the last one's maybe a little bit more complicated. But yeah, we can go on to others. Hero, go for it, man.
Awesome. Who do we have next that wants to jump up and give us a recap of their project?
Happy to go next. I'm Ludo from TXTX.
cool, Ludo. Yeah, Ludo. For anybody who doesn't know, he used to work in Hero Systems. He's probably your new venture, TXTX, is it?
Yeah, correct. So I'm still officially a Hero engineer, but yeah, I will be full-time on TXTX starting next week.
Yeah. So do you want to just like quickly go over your project so we
Sure.
know what's up?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so yeah, quick context on maybe the team first. So yeah, I joined Blockstack or the Stacks ecosystem 5 years ago now. So I spent my first 3 years on working on the blockchain. So Stacks Core in a few different parts. So Clarity, the VM, and also a few parts of the distributed system of the network stack. After the launch of Stacks 2.0, I started hacking with Clarity, and I quickly realized that the tooling was a bit short. So I invented Clarity on my spare time. It then became a hero project. And yeah, so Clarinet. So yeah, I've been working on Clarinet. Then I started working on Chainhook, Hook, and a few other projects. And yeah, after a few years at Hero, feeling the need of building something with my bare hands. So yeah, which brings us to TXTX. So yeah, maybe a quick recap on the context. So when you create a Web3 protocol or like a new Web3 project, you go through 4 big phases basically. So step 1, you want to write the contract. So yeah, Clarity, Bitcoin script, Solidity, Rust, whatever. The contracts need to be materialized. Step 2 would be debugging the solution. So you have to write unit tests, integration tests, you first test your contracts. Also, you can audit, like all shots are allowed. And yeah, at this point, developers are still dealing with some source code on their computers. And then we have deployment and operations. And so by deployment, I mean the action of publishing all the contract on chain, and by operation, I mean performing all the operations that a contract can require. So for instance, if you run a DeFi protocol, you need to be able to observe the state of your contract and tweak some smart contract parameters. Potentially, you need to upgrade the contracts and also follow touchy processes in case of emergency, like contract shutdown. So yeah, deployment and operations are the phases where things can go south and where any Web3 developer, not just on Stack, but any ecosystem, will tell you that they feel uncomfortable and vulnerable. And that's the problem space I want to focus on. So yeah, TXTX assists developers transitioning from source code living on their computer to smart contracts living on a blockchain. And yeah, so TXTX stands for transmit transaction because that's what we do. So state of the art today. So when a developer wants to deploy or operate a smart contract, they write a JavaScript piece of code, and they hard code their public key in there, or maybe use an environment variable. And so the scripts are encoding, signing, and sending the transaction on chain. It's most of the time undocumented, unaudited, obscure, and hard to maintain. And so, yeah, we are reapproaching this method. So we are introducing the concept of smart contract runbooks. So a smart contract runbook is a workflow or a recipe designed to make sequences of blockchain interactions reproducible and robust. So a runbook is materialized by a piece of code describing the transactions required to deploy a smart contract or interacting with it. So from an effort point of view, we're not asking developers to do more work, and instead of writing big and complex scripts synchronizing transactions, we have a system that allows developers to describe what should be done instead of how to do it. So yeah, smart contract runbooks have 4 key properties. So the language is declarative, so it's like JSON, YAML. So easy to read, no learning curve. I mean, that there is a domain-specific learning curve, but yeah, there's no learning curve related to the tech. It's composable, meaning a runbook can rely and call into another runbook, which means that if I have a swap contract interacting with a Oracle protocol that I have not written, then I can, assuming everyone are relying on this runbook tech, then we can all interact with each other without diving too much into the smart contract codes and understanding how those things needs to be deployed and initialized and everything. So the composability is really interesting. And then everything is designed as a multi-chain system, meaning, we want to be able to support Clarity runbooks, but also Bitcoin script runbooks, and EVM runbooks, and so on. The TXTX is designed to be open source, and it's meant to be run by developers. So there's no it's not blocked by a cloud platform. Like everything runs on your machine offline. So that's something that we love as Web3 developers. We want to be autonomous. So that's a key criteria. And then, so that's pretty much it for the product. Do you have any question? Can you hear me? Sorry.
No, that sounds great. Thank you for introducing your project.
I see this application for critical bounties. So this presumably covers like a different area.
What do you mean?
I think there's a grant being awarded from critical bounty side from Will. So this is a different application to that, correct?
We filed an application for a grant from the Stacks Foundation. We are bootstrapping ourselves at the beginning. So it's two of us. So we got a grant from the foundation, and we are trying to extend a bit our autonomy with some help from DeGrants.
Awesome, thank you. Do we have anyone else that wants to jump up and introduce their project?
Yeah, I could go next.
All right, JJ, go for it.
Awesome.
Ludo, do you mind if I ask you a last question? Sorry, super quick.
Yeah.
I think I saw in your application you said you're gonna use you need to hire UI UX studio. Like, is that, have you selected the studio, or is that oh right, okay.
Yeah, we know who we want to work with. At this point we've been working quite a lot over the last few months, and it's pure execution. We want to open the beta at Nashville, so that would be a pretty cool achievement.
Cool.
It's really just execution at this point.
Oh, good. Let's go to Gecko.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. So we are building Gecko, which is a platform for automated security testing of Clarity contracts. We're addressing the problem of lack of security tools in the Stacks ecosystem, where the only existing solution right now is audits, which most of you know are really expensive. They're low occurrence because they only happen at the end of development, and they can often be incomplete in coverage of code. So the first step we took to address this was build a static analyzer for Clarity contracts, which we've been testing in private beta, and we're launching this publicly in a few weeks. And then we applied for the DeGrants to build a fully automated fuzzer, which will allow us to dynamically analyze and test the contracts. We have a detailed technical architecture documentation that we linked in the grant. That goes into detail basically how the input generation for the fuzzer and the waypoint detection work. And the main benefit for developing this fuzzer is that it's going to overcome a lot of the limitations of the static analysis, and we'll be able to identify harder to find bugs, such as unknown vulnerabilities and more business logic issues. And so how this would look for the user is they can select any smart contract that they want to test. This can either be locally or a deployed on-chain contract. And since it's a fully automated fuzzer, users don't need to write any invariant tests or specify the input generation strategies, Gecko will just start fuzzing, automatically analyze the code, and then report any vulnerabilities that it finds. And this obviously significantly lowers the barrier for security testing of Clarity contracts, and it requires like really minimal effort for users and provides almost instant feedback on the vulnerabilities and code coverage. And then maybe just as my background, I've worked in cybersecurity for like 5 years now. I previously worked at Binance as a security engineer, and then for the intelligence service where I was doing fuzzing and vulnerability research.
Sounds amazing. Do we have any questions for Gecko here related to his project?
So your product is already live, right?
So one of the tools, which is the static analyzer, we've been testing in beta. That's going to launch in a few weeks. But for the DeGrants, we applied to build basically dynamic analysis, which is a fuzzer. And that's obviously not made yet.
Have you received grants from other places? Apart from, I think you won several hackathons, and have you received any grant from, I don't know, Critical Bounties or others alike, or other ecosystems?
No, so we have no grant funding from Critical Bounties or other ecosystems, and the static analyzer came out of the consensus hackathon, which we won, and that's kind of the only funding we have right now.
Cool. Anybody else?
Just one crazy question. You mentioned you use AI for auditing. How do you check the authenticity of that information or the report of that audit?
Yeah, so there's documentation that maybe will explain it in a lot more detail, but to summarize, the LLM is only used to generate inputs for the fuzzer. We don't use it in a traditional way where we input the contract directly into an LLM and ask it to audit it. We just use it to basically prompt the fuzzer to generate new input strategies and identify more interesting states that we capture when the fuzzer is running. So that's the only reason the LLM's used.
Okay, more like creating scenarios and seeing the loopholes.
What do you mean specifically?
Like you're making it create different scenarios and seeing where the loopholes are.
More so that it will generate different inputs to functions, and it will determine which states that the fuzzer captures are more interesting. And because the fuzzer is supposed to run automatically, it will pick several states and decide which one it wants to converge deeper into, and then hopefully find a vulnerability by going further down the tree. So basically, the LLM is going to decide which route to take and which input to send to the function.
Oh, okay, cool.
And we've done hypothesis testing on a lot of these scenarios where we manually input the LLM. So to kind of take a lot of the guesswork out and the R&D of whether this is actually going to be successful in the architecture, we broke down specific scenarios where we basically ran little experiments to show that this is actually going to work and outlined basically the process to reproduce that.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much. I think your project is super cool. Who's your target audience then? Like early founders or like Tinkler, like people just like creating contract like here and there?
Yeah, so when we've been testing like our beta version of the static analyzer, we've been mainly testing with developers who are really just, building out contracts. And we found one of the most useful ways that people are using it is kind of before an audit to focus testing of their audit on like a specific area. So if they run it through Gecko, they can kind of get more understanding of the threat landscape and where the potential vulnerabilities may be, and then focus the manual audit testing on a specific area. This obviously helps the auditors, can actually reduce the cost as well. And I think recently that we're seeing a lot, maybe integrations with wallets as well. So because this is all automated security tooling and we're building APIs, wallets can kind of integrate this and scan new tokens to see if there's any malicious tokens, or maybe like integrate it into Hero and the Block Explorer. So I think there's lots of different ways that in the future we'll see kind of how this can be built out.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you're almost like several groups of people. You got the wallet providers, but also like people who, you know, to sort of get to the audit level, you need to spend quite a bit of money, right? Quite a few $1,000s. So you're almost saying like use your products before you go to the auditors, like use these tests to find out the stuff first before you get to the audit stage. So potentially this tool could help to create a lot of sort of early projects, if you like. I'm just thinking in my head. I don't know if that's correct.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it does a lot of things. The highest level, it automatically finds vulnerabilities in Clarity codes, and this can be used for developers to, you know, currently there are no tools during development that can find vulnerabilities. So this fills that need. Like you said before, auditing. It can also be used in other applications to integrate automated scanning. I think there's lots of different
Yeah.
ways. Yeah, there's
So,
lots of
for
different ways.
example, recently, the past few days, we had like several new tokens come up, like scam tokens. Your thing can also bridge that gap. Oh, did he drop? Oh, good. Oh well. Anyways, how about we go to Dan? Yes, I can hear you, but let's go to Dan first because he was just here before you, so we can hear out his project.
Sorry, I'm a little under the weather today, so I don't have the energy some of the other folks have had, so apologize.
Okay.
Yeah, my project is regarding a boom. Sorry, so Bitcoin. It's under the boom development, boom wallet development, but the project is actually for Bitcoin payment request specification. The goal is to build a payment request specification that's standardized across stacks and as much as possible Bitcoin and other chains. In that respect, we're working with Writer ID, the hardware group, to build a payment specification that works for multiple wallets. The idea here is that we can simplify making payments to peer-to-peer payments and merchant payments as easy as possible. Excuse me. And kind of unlock an ecosystem of Bitcoin payments on the Stacks network. Currently, we have the Lightning network. I think it basically tripled in 2023. The size of Lightning payments tripled in 2023, essentially. And what we have on Stacks is the opportunity to build a better, excuse me, Lightning network. We don't have some of the overhead that Lightning does in terms of custodianship, and then channel management, server management, things like that. And so what we're trying to do is build a payment specification. Like I said, it's standard, it's open source, it already exists, or at least the version 0 draft exists on the Boom Crypto /BTC PR repository. It'll be 100% open source. We're building the specification out, documentation, and then of course examples for developers to implement. So this is not while it's part of Boom's development. This is really a more general payment specification that we want to build out, test out as much as possible first, and work through any kinks, and then eventually create a SIP that we can standardize on. The idea being that we would have as many wallets on stacks as we do in like the Lightning area, and we would have the decentralized marketplaces on stacks that we do that we see in the Lightning area. The advantages are, of course, the Stack smart contracts, SBTC as a plugin, as a peg-in, sorry, for Bitcoin payments, and those things simplify the kinds of things that Lightning is doing, basically. Sorry, I didn't explain that well. I'm a little, like I said, not feeling great. Any questions? Okay.
Any questions, guys? I can ask a few questions. So this will basically, it's like a standard for allowing almost like lightning payments on stacks.
Exactly.
And in order to allow different providers to do that, have multiple different service providers, what you want is to have an agreed upon standard, so that people are not making different all the different types of standards, and it gets really confusing, right?
Right, because what what we don't want to see is everybody doing their own thing, and we have 5 different versions of merchants, or 5 different versions of like an experts version of peer-to-peer payments and a leather version of peer-to-peer payments. We want to make things standards so that everybody's eventually using the same standard, and you can flow between wallets as you deem necessary, or whatever your particular interests are.
So does this application require you to almost like have to work with other wallet providers like experts and letter in order to make sure everybody sort of agree to that?
It doesn't have to, but we actually were going on to Leather's space Wednesday, I believe. But we're like I said, we're working also with Ryder, who's interested in payment specifications. And yeah, what we don't want to do is get stuck into like a 6 month SIP request cycle at first. We want to get this out there so that it's available when SBTC hits.
Yeah.
We want to kind of try and fail fast if we have to, and iterate. And like I said, eventually, at after that, when we find out, and the specs all open, anybody can implement it with any wallet at any time. Um, Once we figure out like where the kinks are, we've worked those things out. We want to definitely establish this as a SIP, and work with all the key parties.
Yeah. Yeah,
Tech,
so basically you are proposing yourself as a guinea pig, and you front run everybody, not front run, but you're the first troops on the line, first line on the first line of troops on the front line. I can't remember how to say it. But anyway, you go and figure out all the guinea pigs, all the kinks, and then once you iterate and once you get to a more closer to the final standard, you pull different. Well, they can pull themselves in at any time, but it's probably more
absolutely.
likely they will probably be interested in the the version that's closer to the final, and then they can chime in then
Yeah, and
probably.
they can implement directly, and to kind of mitigate some of the risk of just like going off completely into left field. We're basing this on there's an existing web payment spec by the W3 for handling like fiat payments, right? So you can go in, and there's a standard that's already accepted by Chrome and Safari and the others for specifying like this is my payment type, and it's got some other information as part of it. And we're basically modeling our payment request specification on what they've that previous work, right? So, trying to minimize at least the gaps initially, and build off of existing, or at least build alongside existing standards to try to mitigate some of that risk. But yeah, and anybody's open to contribute at any time. Like I said, the specification is being built out in the open. Anybody can implement it at any time. So yeah, but yeah, we're kind of trying to part of this is building the developer documentation to make it easier for other wallets to implement. Part of
Mhm.
it is actually the specification. Uh, excuse me, writing the specification or adapting the
Yeah.
specification.
So I will try to put it in my the most hopeful light I can think of is that if this specification is good and works well in reality, it could potentially unlock a lot of different fast payment usages on stacks with SBTC, and that potentially you could start seeing different if stacks gets traction and if this standard gets traction, you could potentially see like different wallets start spin up. Like in the lightning world, you have many different wallet using lightning sort of standard underneath the hood to do payments. Would that be something? Would that be correct? I mean,
Yeah,
the
I
most.
think what's frustrating to me is that I see the Lightning Network, and they've done like a ton of great work, but it's been like 4, 5, 6 years of Lightning, basically building complexity on top of complexity. And I think we can reimagine what a Bitcoin payments ecosystem looks like on top of stacks, in a much simpler, easier way, especially given the Nakamoto uh, block times and SBTC peg-in. We're not going to hit lightning transaction speeds. I don't think that's the intention, but we're going to build a payment. We have the capability of building a payment system that's good enough. I think, right, closer to Visa and Mastercard times, right? Um, but again, the Lightning Network, I think the numbers, and don't quote me on this exactly, but it was like $28 million of Bitcoin payments in 2022, and then it was like 78 or 76 million in 2023. And what's frustrating to me is seeing like there's a ton of Bitcoin payment work going on out there, that's happening on Lightning, and all of that, when we have Nakamoto and when we have SBTC plugin, can easily be transferred. Like there's no reason for us to not have every single version of a Lightning application onto Stacks, every single version of a Lightning shop onto Stacks. Whether that's like the following the Nostr specifications for shops, there's NIP 15 that where they define using shops on the Nostr social network, or you've got like LNURL, you got streaming options, you've got physical goods that are being paid for, you've got virtual goods that are being paid for. There's no reason we can't have all of this on Stacks, and it gives users a much cleaner, simpler, easier way to onboard, to use their Bitcoin, and create a much, ideally, much bigger and better Bitcoin economy.
Cool. Does it support like stablecoin, or is that a separate topic that there's a SIP going on about stablecoin?
So the specification right now, as we're talking, we're planning on supporting any SIP 10, um, Bitcoin, Lightning, and obviously Stacks. SBTC is going to be like the preferred tool in the Boom wallet, but anybody could use any token that they wanted to if they chose to go a different route. Again, speaking with Ryder, their cross-chain wallet, and so they're interested in making sure that the specification is flexible enough to support other, even other chains, as well as different tokens within a specific chain. So I can't tell you directly about stablecoins today, but that's it within the realm of what we definitely want to try and support eventually.
Um, I'll ask one last question. So, what's the risk here? What's the worst thing that can happen? Like the standard doesn't take off, or
Um, yeah, I think the worst thing that can happen is the standard doesn't take off. Um, I think that's kind of a low risk. There will be some version of this
Okay.
that happens on stacks. The question is like, how are we gonna create it? How are we gonna drive it? Yeah.
Cool. If you need help, like the driving stage, everybody here and Good Kitty, happy to, see how the community can help you. So, yep. Anybody else? Anybody submitted an application?
Hello? Hi, Dave.
Want to go?
John.
Prompt, Jade.
Yeah, Jade.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay, so my real name is Jide. I'm a software engineer, also a crypto investor. So before I talk about my idea, I would like to tell a very short story. So you know the background behind the idea. So I pretty much started my crypto journey as a trader, sometimes November last year. Quite an inexperienced crypto investor. Myself and a group of friends, we created a chat where we kind of inspire ourselves on uprising meme coins and other projects that we could invest and make money in. But 3 months down the line, a lot of the guys who joined our group had lost quite a lot of money. One of my friends called me to tell me he had lost a total of 11,000 US dollars, which he could have probably invested in real estate. So, myself and my co founder, we sat down and we asked ourselves very critical questions. And the biggest problem we could see in the crypto space is trust. Trust and trust. Trust is one big problem because 99% of innovators who come in are really not coming in because they want to actually add value. A lot of them are coming in with the mindset to actually defraud normies, crypto investors, normies, and even the experienced traders even get defrauded. I mean, I invested in one utility project, and right now the coin is almost close to zero, like almost close to zero. That was a total of 6,000 US dollars lost in that specific project. So we came up with the idea called Rock Detector. So Rock Detector is a tool for the stacks community that would help experienced and inexperienced traders to easily identify projects that are built with the intent to rock. So how do we intend doing this? We intend doing this with data metrics on several rock trades. So we've done our research. We've even gone into a lot of chats groups that belong to these rock scammers to understand their behavioral pattern, to understand their mindset. So we're already cooking up something around that, how we could help crypto traders. So we want to build a tool whereby if you are coming into invest in the stacks ecosystem, you could just put the contract address of the token that you want to invest in. And if that token is has some signs that is very ruggable, you'll be given some alerts to tell you so you tread carefully with your funds. So the whole idea behind this is to save people from losing money because the level of financial loss in the crypto space is becoming alarming. Um, some weeks ago, Protocol Village published an article of how $572 million was lost in just Q2 alone. Now, if you look at Solana, fast rising blockchain, you can see that a lot of meme coins are created and a lot of people are losing their money. Even on Ethereum, Ethereum is also not different. So, how can we protect stacks, a fast rising blockchain? Which is coming up with a lot of innovations that would bring in a lot of developers into the ecosystem. Now, these devs will be coming with different kind of ideas, different kind of projects. Not all the devs coming to your ecosystem are coming with a good intent. A lot of them will come with the intent to just rogue and scam people. So, and it becomes a very, very worrying scenario because you see a lot of good projects that have good intent, but these guys are not even getting the real financial liquidity. A lot of liquidity is being diluted to fraudulent meme coins. So we just want to create a system that will just stop this and reduce the rug level of how investors get to lose funds within the stocks ecosystem. So I believe I've been able to give you a vision and an idea of what we're trying to build. So I'm going
Cool.
to mute and I'll be listening to your questions. Thank you.
Have you already started your projects, or is it you
Yes,
haven't? You're just
we
putting it down
actually
as an application.
yes, so we're actually in the early stage. We've started with architectural background because my colleague is also a software engineer. I'm coming from a Web 2 background, so I had to do some learnings, learn about Clarity. I'm learning Clarity for the last 2 months. I also had to learn about crypto trading from beginner level to intermediate, hoping to get to advanced level very soon because I need these two skills to be able to build a very tangible product that will help the investors investing in the ecosystem. So we are quite in the architectural stage of our product. Very soon, like in a week, we'll start hands-on coding on it. We hope to build a prototype in 2 to 3 months' time.
Cool. Anybody got any questions for what's your project name? Rock Detector, right?
Rock detector.
It seems like there's a bit of sort of not crossover per se, but the previous person who came on called Gecko Security. Did you listen to his stuff?
Yes, yes, I listened to him. So I think his own project is basically about security, scanning the
Yeah,
contract.
I think there could be something there that you can help each other with. Maybe you
Yes,
can help him or he can
yes,
help you.
definitely.
Yeah, so I would just like keep following that guy,
Yes.
and yeah, keep it involved in the ecosystem.
Yes, so for his project, I can leverage on his API. I mean, even from the contract alone, you can detect some malicious contracts that people should not invest in. So if he has
Yeah,
API, my project can definitely utilize APIs from his own application. So definitely there can be some handshake there.
cool. Anybody else got any question for
Yeah.
Jade for
Yeah.
his rock detector project? Good kitty, I see your hand up.
Okay.
It wasn't for a question, no, it's for something else.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so
Just
much.
just one
Oh,
here, just
Stan,
one.
Stan.
Okay, hi Jade. I like
Hello.
the idea of the project. I like the idea of the project, especially from somebody that been rocked a couple of times. Uh, I also like the advice or the opinion or recommendation Hero gave because I see overlapping partnership or collaborations with you and the other guy of GetCo. Well, one thing I wanted to ask is you said you'll be able to uh, check if a particular project is going to be a rogue or if they have some kind of history being rogged. And my question was, are you going to approach them or how will you do that? Because many of them, if okay, let's take it from this perspective. If I'm coming into your community or into the Stacks ecosystem aiming at rogging people, I don't think I will want you to come into my project to do some kind of background check. So how do you plan on doing something like that where you get access to that community and you also have the platform to share those information openly? And my second question is, what are those methods you're going to be using? Is it going to be open source or closed source? Am I right again?
No, no, I can hear you. Jade?
Yes.
I think you're robbed.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes. Okay, so what we intend doing is we intend building some kind of systems where we can easily detect when tokens are created. So we are not creating systems where people will come and we're not creating like a form where you come and register your project. No. First thing is find a way to easily get tokens that are created on stacks in the background. Then when we get tokens that are created on stacks, we use some other data metrics to understudy the trades, understudy the address, understudy some distributions and all that around the token. So from there, we can start creating algorithms on the metrics. Then also create like a data bank to store to store metrics of previously raw projects. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I think so. But I think there's something like that on Solana. I can't quite remember the name. But in terms of competitions, do you have anything that looks like what you're trying to create?
I think there is this project called Stacks Alert. So I was researching on. I know Stacks Alert does give some information about some fraudulent activity or so, but not exactly the way we're trying to do ours. So, Stacks generally is like a very fast rising ecosystem. Still, there's still a need for more tools. So, Stacks Alert is the only tool that I know that gives alerting. I don't know if any other one on Stacks ecosystem.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Cool. Yeah, that's yeah, thank you for presenting your idea. Yeah, let's
Yeah,
go to the
thank
next
you for the
person.
platform.
Good kitty.
Hey everyone, hey Dabak, hey Hero, hey Sam, Trip. I was just wondering if I should, because I've put in a proposal. It covers I put it in initially under the submit your own, but it actually applies to all of the tracks. So I don't know whether while I'm here, I should just share a little bit about it with you guys, or whether I should share it, for example, on say Gordon's show, because it is a lot about community stuff. So
I
I don't
think
know
you're
whether I should.
proposing like to leverage some budget from this track as well, right?
Yeah.
I think we're all finding out this how best to do this. I mean, we could do it on Friday, but it would be good to give you give like say the developers community a TLDR perhaps just to make sure everybody has the awareness. So I think there's no harm mentioning it here while all the developers are here and see how you can bring benefits to them.
All right. I'll just give a quick outline then, right? So I put in, thanks, Sarah. I put in a proposal to each of the 6 tracks for an ongoing role of a Stacks community lead or a Stacks community coordinator. And basically, it's a community-led initiative to drive engagement and recognition within the Stacks ecosystem and maintain the work that we've achieved with the tracks over the DeGrants and build it into something bigger for our community by coordinating and supporting activities and programs for the ecosystem. Because one of my biggest worries is that we do, and we saw it between cohort 1 and cohort 2, that it's sort of like we build all this hype up, then it dies away, and then we have to start all over again. So what I proposed was that over the next 3 months, I dedicate a couple of hours a week to oversee what we'd like to build out 4 key programs under the main, what we'll call Stacks Rewards and Recognition umbrella. And those we'll kick it off with obviously the Stacks D grant sits inside that, a community ambassador program, the Stacks Proof of Work Awards that Hera was talking about, and then also possibly include Takavation, which is led by Neta. And then the rewards and recognition program basically encompasses DeGrants, the community awards, and other recognition programs that ensure we have this sort of continuous engagement and rewards for community contributions over an extended period of time, right? The ambassador program is to find 6 dedicated ambassadors, one to focus on each of the tracks that we've already put in place. They will be there to promote activities and updates or whatever within the ecosystem, both within their track spaces and then other applicable spaces as well. So that's the first thing, the ambassador program. I heard Sam talk about an ambassador program as well, so I'd love to speak to him about that as well. Then the Stacks Proof of Work Awards, which is what Hero has been talking about. In a nutshell, and this is obviously subject to change, it's basically a quarterly awards to recognize impactful projects and individuals in the Stacks ecosystem, which through like community voting and then a live award ceremony, we'll reward and recognize these people, right? And then obviously Tacovation, which we kind of all know about. And then kind of to keep the hype going and keep information, you know, because the biggest thing is once we stop DeGrants, we sort of don't have much to do on our spaces, right? To kind of keep that hype going. So all these things will come together to form fun little things that'll happen on each one of the spaces. So, you know, for example, on the Twitter spaces, you'll highlight like the taco dev or the taco artist for the week. I'll do a community newsletter. I'll speak to all the ambassadors, write a newsletter, do a Twitter thread. The ambassadors and the proof of work recipients will receive a zero authority badge. And then we've come up with a way to reward everybody, which I'm also very excited about, but we've just started having a conversation about it. So basically it's looking at rewarding the community, recognizing the community and maintaining the kind of momentum that we've created over the last month or two with the DeGrants so that when it happens again, it's not just a standalone item.
Cool. Anybody got any question for Good Kitty? So maybe like if that takes off, like you and Sam could work together for the ambassadors, because I feel like Sam is almost like building like a little ecosystem of developers, and surely there are, you know, somewhere we can find ambassadors. And if Sam pulls Gary in, and you know, you have a mentor there who are a little bit more, for lack of a better word, senior. If you have different levels of like experiences in there, maybe it's a really good community to leverage and cultivate with.
That's right. What I really would like to do is just bring all of these things together so that they sit under this sort of rewards and recognition experience that we've got going so that our community is constantly feeling like, you know, because so many people um, feel a little bit like that. And I think a lot of people come and go because there isn't something like that. There isn't something that constantly makes them feel like they're rewarded or recognized. You know, getting badges on Zero Authority for these rewards and recognitions. You know, they've got a badge that says they're an ambassador. They've got a badge to say they won, you know, Dev, you know, leading Dev or whatever, or Dev Taco or whatever it is, whatever program's running inside that, you know.
Cool. And do you want to talk a little bit about how you're differentiating the reward system? Because I think that could be one of the things to share, or maybe I don't know if it's too early to share, but I do quite like that in terms of it's more like ongoing feeling of being rewarded rather than every 4 months or every year, so to speak.
Are you talking about what we spoke about last night?
Yeah.
Okay. So I came up with an idea where, I was trying to figure out how do we reward in an ongoing basis? How do we make it sustainable so that we're not needing to constantly either ask the foundation or try and raise funds to reward these people when we do have our awards? How do we reward them financially, right? So what I thought was is if we have and Dan's boombox actually gave me the idea where when I first started at Saks, I bought a boombox and I put $40 in it. Woo! And I was so excited when I got I think it's bi-monthly Bitcoin rewards, right? And it stuck in my head all this time. I've loved it so much. And I thought this is what gave me the idea. So what if we get a lump sum of money, okay, say from the foundation. Just let's for argument's sake, say 50K, right? So we get 50K from the Stacks Foundation. We don't use it, we stack it. And the rewards that we get, the Bitcoin rewards that we get from stacking this 50K are paid out. So, for example, if you win, like I've given names to them, I can't remember them, but say you win like Dev of the Quarter, it's not called that, but you win in the it's like we used to have the stackies, right? So it's a little award ceremony, and you win like the Dev title. You will then receive your badge on Zero Authority for that. And you will also then, for the next quarter, so for 3 months, you will receive the appropriate amount, whatever the split is. Say we've got 10 awards or 5 awards. Each one of those 5 people will receive their little bit of Bitcoin every 2 weeks for a quarter. So we're able to fund these programs and give rewards out to people. It might not be this huge amount, but I think there's a lot of fun receiving Bitcoin into your wallet every 2 weeks. And I think it keeps people, rather than just handing out, $1,000 or $100, and then it's handed out and then it's like, okay, thanks, bye. So it almost keeps them, once they've won the award, they kind of maintain themselves within the ecosystem because they're getting those rewards every 2 weeks, you know. Um, and they want to stay because once you've got it, it's kind of gets addictive, and then you kind of want to go for that award again so that you can carry on getting your free Bitcoin awards. So that's what I thought we could do.
Nice. Sam, got any thoughts?
It's a nice idea, really, really brilliant idea. But for me, it's more like I really like to be part of the people winning something for my efforts, like I've been saying for a couple of months now. And I feel like it will also help in the long term where we get to reward people for their efforts in the ecosystem. I think one of the things that we've been talking about for long is recognition. And if this is bringing recognition, it's one of the things that we look up to, especially for community builders and advocates for stacks in the long run. So I'm definitely in support of it. I just need to read more about the details to really understand it.
I'm busy preparing like a full outline of what it is. I mean, I've put a proposal in, but it's kind of it's not as intensive as what I'm doing. So I'm busy preparing a full document, and then I'm going to add that link into it should be done by tomorrow, and then I'm going to add the link into the Google Drive link into my proposal so that you can click on it and you can see all the art, each program, how I see it happening, how I see it linking all into each other, and so on. So it will be there probably tomorrow, Sam. And I'd love to chat to you about the ambassador program.
Cool. Anyways, oh, there's Dan. Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
I was just gonna say about Good Kitty's idea. I really like the idea. I like it more when we I had talked, I think, on our last space or somewhere about like how we get existing community applications, existing builders to help fund DeGrants also, so we're not just beholden to the foundation. If we can get other groups from outside the foundation to also help fund, then I think this becomes a lot more feasible because of the amounts required. We've been the I think that when you do the numbers, it becomes hard, at least to me, to see how we can fund multiple projects that way. But I think it makes a lot more sense if we're able to like go to some of the other ecosystem players and start getting their support for something like this.
Yeah, I think maybe a stepping stone to get there, asking for fund directly was, as I said to Good Kitty, perhaps, even, they don't need to spend. All they do is to stake their STX and offer to, transfer that Bitcoin payment to people who deserve, or people who select, or the contributors. So I think that could be one way to nobody needs to spend anything, but they're able to have this almost risk-free um, of way of contributing, and that award to them is probably nothing, but to us it's probably a lot, and this can really help to light a little bit of fire in the Stacks ecosystem. So that's the way I was thinking about it. And perhaps we can, and Stacks Foundation has done that before, where they stack a staked amount of STX and the reward went to Stacks advocates who contributed. But I think that the difference here is the way it's being handed out, the way it's being organized, and the way it's being highlighted will be very different. But that's one way I could think of to make that conversation a little bit easier and as a stepping stone to get there, probably the eventual, way of doing things. But for now, um, having a bit of SCX being staked and just Bitcoin payment could be a great way to get off the ground, to get the program um, almost like topped up, because we have our own little pot here we can decide. But to top up, there should be other ideas floating around.
I mean, I've been banging on for a while as well about having sort of trying to figure out how we can build up our own funding. Obviously, like Hero said, there's a lot of implications we have to consider. But I also love the idea of trying to become, with a little bit of our funding, independent. You know.
Cool. Anyways, just a little bit mindful of the time. Thanks everybody for spending time here. This is a super important week, and we're doing everything transparently. I don't know if David is still there. If you are, let me know. If not, we can go to maybe the next person. I don't know if anybody has any more comments. Um, Blockface, Paul, love to hear from you guys. If you got any questions for Good Kitty, or if you wanna um, explain about your application, feel free to as well. Team Sats, I don't know. I don't know if I've met you before. Do you have an application, Team Sats? Cool. Anyways, yeah, Blockface, Paul. Do you guys have? Do you want to share your projects or?
Paul, you want to go first? And then you can like bury me with your great presentation.
No, I'll flip a quarter. You call it.
We don't use quarters anymore. That's fiat, Paul.
I know.
Just for
tails.
context, a poll submitted under submit your own, and it's kind of AI transcription summarizing. So I've asked him to, because we don't have a space for submit your own, so I asked him to jump on and explain to us about his projects.
Okay, I'll go ahead. What how it all came about is I'm a secretary of a community organization that we do, public service work and fundraise and help people do things. And I'm gloriously the secretary. And a year and a half ago, they made a comment, hey, why don't we do something techie with the minutes? So I started recording the meetings, and I wrote in Python a bunch of different scripts to do different things, using a simile AI to do the uh, transcription and summarization and different parameters, a whole bunch of different things. And so I built that, got that pretty much worked out where it's each script works. And then as I've been merging things together, I publish it to a website. I was doing a lot of that manually. I've gotten most of that where it's automated, but it's still in separate scripts. And what caused me to submit this was Happy and I were talking, and he said it'd be great that you guys in the community recording your meetings could get minutes and feedback and that type of thing. So that's the main purpose that I submitted it, was to bring it from a desktop type application to a web base, and not necessarily be in Python, probably be in something else. Uh, and that was the purpose behind it. And it's an interesting tool. I've done a lot of different prompting with it because the meetings we do are very structured, and the meetings and the talks and the things here are very dynamic. So I've been looking at other alternative AIs, and um, that's where I'm at now. And so I'm kind of a nerd.
So,
So if I wander
so
off in
how
the
would I
weeds,
use it? Like, I'm how
You
would
would
I
have
use it?
what the way I would set it up is initially the proof of concept would be where you would have a web page access to it. It would be set up somewhere. You would have your Open AI or Assembly AI or whatever AI we're using to do the transcription, and then you would take the audio file. I plan on just you take the audio file, upload to it, let it do the transcriptions, and then it would create an HTML page that you could send the link to for people to review. And it would be on that local site that you have where the AI is. So, did I go blank?
I'm just letting others see if they got any
Oh,
questions.
so it's to let them mull on it. Yeah, and the piece that I'm looking at is like there's other options, like if because Happy and me talked about taking it to production. I never thought about it. I've gone out and looked at all the different services and things that are out there. Um, there's some other features. Creating the HTML. You can also create PDFs of the information to be able to send to people. I've played around with the audio read feedback, because I've worked with Blockface on some of the talking chat bots, one of the ones that he submitted. And, just there's a lot of different features, but I was trying to keep it simple where you enter in a name of the meeting and you drag and dropped an audio file, and then it generated you an HTML page so that you could send that out as a reference. Keep it as simple as possible. So, and then that'd be the middle part if I took it to production.
Cool. Does this have anything to do with what Blockface is doing, or is it complementary, or what?
It's actually spun off. It's something I was doing before. That Blackface and I worked on a Twilio Assembly AI coaching proof of concept for a gentleman, and we put together and used a lot of different methods. And I knew Twilio. He told me, "Hey, check out Assembly AI." So this was the last summer, and so I dug that rabbit hole and crawled in it and tied it to Twilio, which I'd already used Twilio for some applications for client notification and some other things that I'd written. So, we put it together, and then from there, I showed him how to do Python, and then he's gone a little crazy with that. And we kind of collaborated on the Cindy and got him, over a hump. And I fill in where he runs into technical technical roadblocks, and I try to help him work through those. So.
Cool. Blockface, do you have any applications you want to share?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Not too loud? What, you like this new microphone? It's fancy, right?
Was I too loud? Yeah, it's a lot better than what you've had.
It's a lot. I figured I'd put together the nice microphone for this fancy people space. So I actually have a commercial down at the bottom. If you don't like the sound of my voice, you can just press mute and look at the commercial. There's also some testimonials on what we've done. Would you mind if I take about 37 seconds? I'm trying to say this in a way that is optimized for Paul's AI. So, the reason I'm here is because I'm a headhunter launching startups with Rocky, Paul, Vance, and the team at the Syndicate. The big reason I'm here is because I'm working with a brand that has an audience of 100,000 teens, and I want them to use the wallets and software we create with programmatic money. So first of all, Gecko, Ludo, and Dan, so far, personally, I think you guys have the most critical ideas that I've heard so far. So take that for what it's worth, especially the W3C idea of using fiat standards for the crypto standards. I think that's very compliant. So again, if I'm a mystery voice, my name is Mike, and I'm a member of the Syndicate. So far, we've deployed and tested the Get Clarity Smart Contract Developer, which over 30 people have used, and the Exponential Organization Accelerator, which over 40 people have used in the Stacks community. Our submission is called Cindy, the Community Copilot, and DevRel on Stacks, and the submission amount is for $500. The purpose of Cindy is to accelerate the go-to-market of the developers and teams in the community. And the reason I'm uniquely suited for this, in my opinion, I'm biased, is that I've been a headhunter for a very long time. So my job is to get developers paid. And I've been doing that with Rocky, and Vance for the past few years. And on top of that, I have a wife who's taught math and science for 20 years. And so when it comes to education, we have a leg up, let's say. So thank you. My name is Michael with the Syndicate. It's an honor to be here.
That was real you, right? It wasn't AI.
What does it matter? Paul is working on the 11 labs, assembly, large language model stuff, but I'll stop there.
It's the real him.
How do you know?
You want to share? You said $500 under this track, but across all tracks, how much are you requesting? And are they all different bots, or is it the same bot that just spread across?
Well, the reason I put $500 is because I've submitted to about 3 or 4 different tracks, right? As has Paul, as has Rocky, for example, with Good Kitty on Audiobox. So I figure if there's interest from at least 3 different communities, then we might as well build an agent family for all of them, especially if you like what Paul's also mentioned. So I'll leave it up to you guys, but if there's 2 to 3 communities that are interested, then we can, that funding is for the premium plan, so we can have people not only have access to agents that can write contracts and connect them with different people in the community like developers, but also provide a shared service to bring all of the communities together, because it's really too hard, even as a recruiter, as you deal with over 200 names, everyone becomes fuzzy. Not so with an AI.
Hero, I'd like to say one of the things about the AO Scribe is when I started playing with the cost last year and analyzing those on the usage, it cost about around $2.35 for about an hour of meeting time to do the processing. And this year, the last one that I did in June, it only cost me 35 cents. And that was also adding the AI component of doing, to-dos and defining the content versus just straight transcription. So there's been a significant drop in the cost. So you're looking at, 35 cents for an hour. That's not bad.
So I had a question on that actually. So there are so many sort of meeting bots around. So what makes yours different to the other meeting bots that can summarize and even tag different categories and stuff? How is that different?
Actually, under the hood, none. It's just the um, the the features that you want to have with it can be customized, because everything under the hood is you're calling upon the same sources. They're like whales. The APIs are like whales, and it just depends on cost structure. And that's how I've been looking at it: is what's to me the most cost effective, and what's the simplest. Because most people add a lot of bells and whistles and a lot of things to their stuff. I like to keep things simple, and it performs based on one task, and that's it. And it's simple to do it. And that's the premise behind, because I do that on my desktop. I write a lot of scripts and automate a lot of things on my desktop that aid in the reduction of having to click 4 times. It's hit one key, shortcuts, that kind of thing. So, that's how I look at this.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for explaining, Paul. Oh, Blockface, I think I was muted when I was speaking to you. Um, I was gonna ask you how, like, since we're in the developers room, can you speak to a little bit more details how that bot can benefit developers, sort of, maybe them programming, or is it like education that Sam can leverage, or is it like the founders part? Because we have founders sort of looking around in this track and also DeFi track sometimes. So could you speak a little bit more details so they can hear the
Mm-hmm.
benefits of having the bot
So
specifically to them?
for developers, this is me speaking as a headhunter. I don't need to teach a developer how to code something new. I tested this out with an Ethereum developer who developed a trading market over there, and he's an expert in Solidity. I just had to give him the docs, and he was fine. So the challenge wasn't teaching him how to develop a smart contract. He can read the docs and do that himself without contacting anyone. The acceleration comes in onboarding the right people and introducing them to people like Good Kitty, right, and the rest of the people that need specific type of work done. So to me, in what Paul's doing, Paul is creating a system whereby we can take meetings like this and understand who said what, when, and what was the significance and action items that came out of this. For me, I look at this as a headhunter, and a great CEO surrounds himself with people who are strong when they're weak. So by leveraging what Paul's doing, I can then use my headhunting skills with Cindy, the community co-pilot, and accelerate the go-to-market. And again, my purpose here is to look at the technologies and see what's going to fit with the 100,000 teens I'm onboarding. So I'm not only looking at developers, but how the developers fit in the solution architecture of go-to-market with my Web2 brands that have brand market fit.
Dan, you had 100. What did you think? Dan?
I thought it was 100% correct. I mean, particularly just the place about surrounding yourself with smarter people than you are. I mean, in my experience, past startups, fit is key, and complementary talents are a huge accelerator.
So Blockface, how are you intending to help with that? Do you have like a real life example?
Yeah. I mean, I've been headhunting for 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And so if you look at my LinkedIn, it's in my profile, you can see recommendations from people I've been working with.
I mean,
You know,
Cindy, how the bot gonna
same
help
thing.
with that?
Cindy is just a reflection of me in a lot of ways. Does it make sense? And so, sure, we can be, the first level of a chatbot is to be an information made with a personality. But I believe that the real purpose of AI is to connect the right humans together and the right leaders together. And so I'm excited about working with Stacks because I find that there's a lot of people that just don't know about each other and haven't been introduced properly. And by introducing people properly, we can really accelerate people's development and turn 3-month projects into 1-week projects.
Yeah, so my question was like, how are you gonna be able to do that sort of step by step? Is it like I go to a website, a URL, or is it Cindy jump on a space and be one of the co-hosts, or how would that look like in reality, in practice?
Sure. So Cindy's listening into this conversation as we speak. And for
Cool.
example, I made sure to mention Gecko, Ludo, and Dan because those are individuals that I want to speak with directly because they have, I think, some of the most foundational ideas. And those people represent teams of developers that can probably help everyone else on these DeGrants submissions actually bring their products to fruition. And I believe that if we put these people into sprints, we can get these prototypes done in 1 to 2 weeks, not 3 to 6 months. Right. So it's not about automating everything with AI. It's using AI where it should be used, which I believe is to connect the right people together that don't know each other to accelerate go to market. So my answer is fuzzy on purpose because I'm not trying to automate everything with AI. I'm trying to use AI to help me introduce the right people at the right time.
Yes, Dan?
Yeah, going along with the fit being key and what Blockface said about introducing everybody, I think, I guess my question is like, how do you? There's still like this component of fit, like just bringing like key leaders together doesn't automatically make them work, right? Like they're
No.
still the subject of fit, and so how do you? I mean, is that just like a manual out of band process that is
No.
always going to be part of the process, or do you see this fixing that as well?
Yeah, I'll put something to the top. They did research on gamers to see how the same target market plays games differently. And they came up with what's called the user type hexad. It says at the top, you'll get there eventually. That was kind of tongue in cheek. And so they find that people in this community, identify yourself, people in this community are driven by purpose, mastery, autonomy, relatedness, change, and rewards. And if you know why someone is there, then you can know how they might be complementary in terms of not only knowledge and skill, which is easy, but attitude. Knowledge and skill without attitude fit is dead and causes disruptions. So understanding what types of games people choose to play, you can put together these massive multiplayer online role-playing games with code and money.
So Blockface, something just jumped to my mind super quick. So it's either you get that bot to interview a lot of different people or listen into spaces, like different data point collection, I guess. And I think you already did a bot like you can just like conversationally, and that person can explain his own skill, his experience, or is it through some kind of form? So I think like different points of capturing that data, and then
And
that
keep in
can
mind,
easily.
with developers, keep in mind that, if I talk to a developer, I'll ask me, take me to your GitHub. Don't talk to me. Show me what you've done. And so, with an AI can do some of those tasks a lot faster and more detailed. Not all of it.
Yeah. And if there's like a public data of who everything,
That's where it becomes powerful.
Who everybody, can you hear me? I wonder if there's a public data where who everybody is. Maybe that's a zero authority. I mean, if you input the right information into zero authority, then that should be a good. It's almost like a layer on top of zero authority. Zero authority is the information and the data, but then you can leverage that to connect with people. Zero authority plus Twitter Spaces plus I don't know where other data points come from. But
so just to give you an idea, like I've talked to Zero Authority and introduced that, and he's looking to introduce that methodology into Zero Authority as well. And so, yeah, we've already started working with people like Zero and Good Kitty and Philip, and GSPC, and just moving this forward. I also want to stop talking. I think I see some hands.
Yep. Hands up.
Is Hero talking?
I don't hear anybody other than you, Blockface.
Well, I put some illustrations below of how we manage projects, some testimonials, video from Cindy, all that good stuff. An honor, everyone. I apologize for taking up so much of your time.
I think Hero is Rogan.
Yeah, I can't
Did he just get fed up with us? I think he got fed up.
You got a phone call.
Dave, are you there? Or Get Kitty, are you the host now?
No, it seems they've all gone. Whoever's on the top row. Who sees their name next to Hero? Go.
All right. Here we go. Hello and welcome to the Solana Accelerator. That's right. Sorry. Stacks.